Welcome back, Poggers, to another episode of the PogState. You may have thought that we were done for the year, but you were wrong, and that was silly of you. I'm Atlas. I'm joined by Valdez, Wolf, and Chronicler. We're ready to dive in to why the LCK is going to crush Worlds, and it's not even going to be close. But before that, what's been going on, guys? What have we been up to? Mao, there's something on your face.
Yeah. So I didn't really consider. I wanted to debut it at Worlds because last year it was blonde, and then that came out as a surprise, and I thought it was funny. So I wanted a different thing. I didn't consider that we have a PogState episode, so my surprise is now spoiled. It's a mustache. It's gonna go
As soon as possible.
as Worlds is, which is as soon as Worlds is done.
You're going to have to make sure that you don't... Like, are you a heavy sleeper?
I don't want to answer that.
Because if I have access to your room,
then
then that is gone. Or at least it's half gone.
I actually, Laura, the Genie, the LCK social media, if I remember correctly, I think it was her, was like, you know what you should do? You should say that you don't shave it off if Lucid gets finals MVP. And I'm like, that's pretty safe. I don't think that's happening. But
he did have like an internal struggle to say those words out loud.
That did hurt me.
No, so you could do that because then I can still shave it off.
Yes.
Because you're just saying that you're not going to shave it off.
Well, no, okay. Well, that works.
Yeah, right.
I've been playing Ace Attorney, Edgeworth Investigations, and
Does that require a mustache or?
Not mustache related. No, it's just really good games.
Oh wow! And you still have the mustache. It's weird.
I was in such a good mood today.
Wolf, what have you been up to?
So I went to the Philippines again. I like to go at the end of the year. It's fun. Take a little trip, do a little diving, do a little exploring.
Hell yeah!
I beat Dark Souls 2.
On the trip?
While you were diving?
Before leaving. Well,
Underwater Dark Souls 2?
You know, people beat Dark Souls with like the foot pedal, the Donkey Kong bongos or whatever. I like to do it underwater, I just been otherwise chilling and waiting for Worlds, and watched the first day of Worlds last night. It was really fun. And I just feel like Mao's mustache is getting a little. I feel like it's getting a little hate, but it's kind of growing on him and on me as well.
It's growing. Are you going to keep growing it? Or are you just going to keep it like this length the whole time?
No, I'm gonna keep growing it.
A lot of the Valorant
Won't it kind of go in your
casters-
hair or in your mouth?
Well,
though?
I mean, I am gonna trim. I'm gonna trim
Yes,
it.
trim it.
I have
okay.
I actually think
I'm
that.
getting a little worried.
Oh, but wouldn't it be kind of cool if it just keeps growing down his whole face?
There's been some Valorant casters and
It's
some
like a front
other
mullet.
casters who
His mouth.
I mean, a lot of people have grown mustaches in esports, being like, "I'm just gonna do it for the bit. I'm gonna do a thing," and then a few years later, they still have
did
it.
Bren do it as a bit?
Yeah,
Because Bren's lasted forever.
Yeah,
No,
it could be you too.
I'm very as happy to show it
Yeah, be
publicly
careful.
as I am to confirm that it's like the blonde, right? Like I didn't want to do that forever. I'm not gonna do this forever. I just think it's fun to
Any
do.
spoilers for next year's bit?
No, I'm actually still brainstorming. So if you have any
Okay.
good
Lip rings?
suggestions,
What about shave half your hair off?
Tamara's
I like
suggestion
that,
was
yeah.
a mullet, but I don't think I can.
How about the
do that.
Skrillex, you know?
Whoa,
Shave half
okay.
the head.
How about this? You shave a line in your hair that perfectly fits the headset. So that you can have like optimal headset usage.
Makeup ladies love him.
Have you guys seen the YouTube videos where people talk about how they're a streamer and they have like a dent in the top of their head and they're like really concerned, and they have like pictures
What?
of before and after
Yeah.
because they wear headsets all the time. And
talking
their, like,
about Pepe
skull
Dent?
has like a little like
Which is
dent.
It's your skull won't. It's just your skin. It goes back up. It's
That
fine.
could
No, I'm
explain
pretty
a
sure it's
lot.
your skull. I'm
No,
pretty sure your
it's
brain also gets V-shaped at the top as well. So maybe you should
If you
start,
stream too much,
start
yeah, that will
easy.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah, that explains a lot, actually. That's fantastic.
So
what have you been up to, Brendo?
I've just been playing Deadlock still a lot. I can talk
Really?
about it now. Yeah.
Age of
I'm
Mythology. I forgot about that.
Age of Mythology as well. We're playing that. We're doing 3v3s, 2v2s. Yeah. And I started Crossfire last night, which is why my voice is all messed up. I went to sleep at 7:30.
Rip
but I'm
Bozo.
here because PogState is very important. And I'm here to talk about Worlds. But yeah, just been playing games.
Yeah. I'm like, but sarcasm or not? I don't know. This is like dead Brendo. It's hard to tell.
It's just Crossfire, man.
It's-
It
I
gets-
just-
it-
yeah.
it-
It's affected me. a
For
little.
context, he cast it in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
Yeah.
very late. In the
Oh, it
night.
does. Although to be fair,
It did finish at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
I don't even feel like having done only a little. I can only have the utmost respect for Brendan. But even having done Crossfire during the day, it's rough. I can't even imagine doing it at like 4 a.m.
No. That doesn't sound
You're a
right.
warrior,
It's the next
Brendan.
level.
I've been doing about the same thing. I reinstalled Genshin Impact.
What about that new mobile?
Are you playing
Tactics.
ZZZ?
Nah, I haven't been playing that.
Oh.
The Clinto game?
Yeah, the Clinto
No,
game.
the paper thin game. Sorry, we're using cast to speak. Yeah, no, haven't touched that one yet. I'm limiting myself. I thought I was a one gacha guy, but maybe I'll just be two, and then that'll be fine. Otherwise, some World of Warcraft with Achilleos. That's been a lot of fun. He's kind of like my boss now that we don't have as much work at the LCK. I like to still feel like I'm a subordinate, and so I just use Seth as my stand-in boss.
Nice.
And he's pretty good. He's a decent guild leader. So
Have
it's
you been
fun.
playing Battlegrounds as well?
Yep.
Current meta's really fun.
Yeah, I've been playing a load of that. Oh, I'm like still can't really climb though. I'm like 7K or something like that. It's pretty pathetic.
But it's fun.
It is fun. I just force sleepers every game because sleepers are the best. Okay, Worlds is happening. Some slight adjustments from last year. I think almost unanimously, the format changes that happened last year that were a lot more sweeping than this year were considered really, really good. I think a lot of people absolutely loved it. I don't think that there were too many qualms outside of LCK fans kind of not wanting all of their teams to like knock each other out and stuff like that, like KT, DK, and that sort of stuff from Swiss. Few things have been adjusted there, but let's have a bit of a rundown as to how things are going to work. Starting, of course, with play-ins. It is basically exactly the same as what we had last time. Best of threes with a double-sided bracket, and then 4 teams will then progress based on the amount of winning that they are going to do. So it's basically like 2 groups, and then 2 teams will make it out on both sides. Then Swiss stage does come in. This is the bit that was complicated last year, but we should probably have figured out. You need to win 3 times. Best of 1s until it is promotion or relegation, and then it is going to be best of 3s. And then when we get into the knockout stages, when the slight adjustment has happened, now you're not going to have 3-0 teams on the same side of the bracket. So the way that those teams will meet in the knockout stage will only be the grand final.
There's also, thank you, KT. You can't redraw. So last year we had KT, DK twice, and then one of them was for elimination.
Yep.
So that can't happen anymore, which I think is
Thank God.
universally great.
Somewhat appreciated.
Yeah, heavily.
KT died for that.
Yeah. Last year was DK sacrificed for it, right? It was
The
rough.
protection of the 3-0 teams not meeting until the finals is, I think, one of
Yeah.
the best changes because that just ends up being really stupid if we have the best teams like fight each other in the round of 8. That's
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that could happen otherwise.
Even in the semifinal.
Semis also just it makes the finals a little bit one-sided, like we saw last year. Didn't end up being great finals.
Yeah, I think with single elimination, that'll just happen a lot. That like the semis will be where the real action is, but
There's a lot of years where you can sort of note where the real final was, like
Yeah.
2018 KTIG, for example. I mean, T1 JDG was definitely closer than anything else. Like, there's a lot of examples dating all the way back.
I've been watching, or I was watching a lot of the, like worlds running up, the old world championships. And I just saw one day of like, like how the second week of groups was just one day of like a single group.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh God, I'm so glad we got Swiss. Because you just know, like, in most cases, like a match.
That was always the second round,
yes,
right?
and it was always horrible because like 1 or 2 games in, you're like, oh well, it's done.
Group solved.
Yeah, group solved.
Yep.
Have fun playing the next 4 games for morale.
The
But
old
that experience, that they could take back to their regions.
the old MSI like Rumble format that we had, or pre-Rumble format, where you have like 2 like LCK teams in different groups, just like trashing on everyone else.
RNG going like 17-0 that one MSI where they had to
Yeah.
replay stuff.
Please no more of that. I'm liking what we have now. It's much
I love
better.
Swiss, man.
Yeah. Nothing else to say. I think this format's great. The only thing is probably should have happened earlier, but I'm glad we got here, and that's all that matters.
If
So
that's
we
the
have it now.
complaint, then
Yeah.
good job.
That's the best complaint. to
Yeah,
have.
we got it. We did it.
That's why didn't you do it sooner? Because people need to be mad about something, and so that's
is the
the
internet,
best thing
so
for someone to be mad
We'll
about.
say that.
I think we are all unanimously feeling like the LCK is definitely going to win 4 teams in semis, right?
No.
No.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, okay.
We have sent T1 and D+.
Yeah.
But also
it's not
Peanut
KT
and
with
Doran.
BDD, so
You know, I love that
true.
we're like so ready to criticize the LCK teams that we send.
Oh, I'm sure.
We're like so self-aware.
Dude, no, but it's so awkward because I feel like I can do this amongst you guys, and you're all like, yeah. And then I do it at Worlds, and like,
shut up.
Dracos looks at me, he's like, I will murder. Like, because Dracos is really sweet, so he wouldn't do that.
Yeah, probably not
But
Dracos.
yeah, so I think we can get through Humble Life and Genji pretty quickly because they're insanely good, both of them.
who is better and more likely to win more? I think that's the main question between those two teams.
Genji, I
'cause
think.
I would still go for Genji.
I actually choose Hanwha.
Yeah, that's fair.
I chose Hanwha in my pick'ems.
Same.
But it's purely a head and heart battle, and my heart won in that one. I just feel like it's Peanut's time. I always go for the old guy that's
the
trying to
timing
get
is-
one last Worlds, you
Yeah.
know? Aiming's another example of like a player that may not have another opportunity. But I don't think that D Plus have the capacity to quite get there over a team like Humble Life that are just exceptionally good right now, domestically. But I do think that Genji are just a better team. And I also think that the meta probably suits them a little bit better.
Yeah, so because we're playing on 1418, I actually looked this up. Obviously, we all know if you've watched a lot of Worlds, Plains isn't real. There's always a lot of stuff being played that as soon as the main stage rolls around just gets
Mumu support.
dropped.
Tryndamere. Like,
immediately dropped. If it actually is a Syndra and Jarvan meta, though, Genji's not winning Worlds. Because I looked up before this. I don't know if you heard, Brandon. I kind of want to ask you this again.
And this actually kind of broke my brain as well, because I
So
didn't think about it.
How many Trophies
Wait,
played?
first, Brendan, did you watch the video?
which one?
No, never mind. It's okay. He's
no.
coming in fresh.
The answer is no.
So, because
Regardless
this
of the
blew my
video,
mind
yeah.
as well, right? So Trophy has played like about 800 games as like a 80% or 75% win rate or something ridiculous. He's played like 25 games of Aatrox mid with like an 80% win rate.
Some of those games were top.
How many games
Like one.
of Syndra do you think he has played, and what is his win rate?
I mean, the framing of this makes it sound like he hasn't played a lot and that his win rate is very low.
Yeah.
Which is honestly what I expect. Like, I don't have a lot of.
I think it's the
I
one.
don't have a
champion
lot
you
of
can't play
memories
at
of
all.
watching Chovy play Syndra. It was always like BDD, Faker, Showmaker, right? It's probably like 4 games, and like 1 and 3.
It's 2, and he's 0-2 with a 2 KDA.
Yeah, I thought it would be something
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
that's
he
a-
just doesn't play that champ. I don't know.
Well,
But
and-
he doesn't
and-
need
and
to.
do
Like,
we-
even
we
if
all
it's
have-
most meta, it doesn't mean that he needs to play it. Like, Chovy is a very versatile player. Like,
Sure, but I do
it's
think
not
and
going to
like
be the only champ in mid.
well, no, but if it ends up actually being a meta tyrant, and then I think we all have our own memories of Canyon playing J4. That
I think I wiped those.
Yeah, we
gone.
try to step away from that. How's Kane at the moment? Is he doing all right?
Is Karthus relevant? That seems to
Italy
fall
got
off.
B1. That's something.
Yeah.
But Plans isn't real. So.
And wait, didn't who played it? Elioya.
yeah.
And
Elioya.
Elioya is famously not,
But he told Jason he only played it because he didn't want his top laner to play it.
That was a great interview.
Oh yeah, that's a thing in Europe, isn't it?
yeah.
Well, I think it's just a Merwin thing.
Well, yeah, but that's where they are, so I'm going to call it that.
Fair enough.
I'm going with it. I think that's fine.
I think it's weird to say for me to say that I am confident in Hanwha's performance moving into this tournament because I do think that I don't want to say they got lucky, like they were better on the day against Genji, but I do think Genji underperformed. They could have actually 3-0'd the finals if they didn't mess up game 1 where they actually kind of threw. I mean, frankly, in that last fight, Pays with a shift forward.
Lehans and Pace really. Yeah.
Because there was a moment there where if they don't actually lose that first game, then they win the next 2 the exact same way. Like it's 3-0 and everyone's like, "Oh, Genji is the greatest. Like no one can touch them." Isn't it
Like,
crazy
Pred
to think
would've
like how
been right.
close we were to that
Yeah.
reality? So I can't feel like, especially with how Doran and Peanut seem to be very inconsistent, especially internationally, that they're going to lift a Worlds trophy after this. But it depends on how well they prepare. I do think that Peanut has a ton of experience now, and even though he has been known to be a little bit of an international choker, I think some of that's probably gone. Yeah, obviously, getting a lot of confidence from winning Worlds, having a lot of fan expectations seems to kind of boost him and not actually stress him out. Because a lot of players, when they get hyped for you, you kind of start to stumble a little bit. I think that happens to Doran sometimes. But Peanut, I think he actually kind of feeds off that energy, so he might be okay. But I just can't imagine like these players lifting a trophy. Like I know Zeka did it already, like and
The year
Viper
prior,
obviously,
Viper did it,
yeah. But like Delight, Peanut, and Doran as world champions, like there's something in my brain that's like, nah, that can't. That's not allowed. We know that's not going to happen.
I mean, for Peanut and Delight, I can see that.
Well,
Doran is always a bit of there's a shadow.
There is even going back to the situation that happened at Last Worlds, right? Like they could have won that series, and then I think that LPL teams clashing against each other is it's like when T1 and Gen.G would meet, right? Internationally, I feel like it's very different. I don't think Gen.G, if they complete the reverse sweep and they beat BLG, I think that they do make it to the finals. I don't necessarily think that they would win, but given with how well they played coming into the tournament, it's for me more so that I think that Hanwha Life as a team got so much better throughout the end of summer to the playoffs, but at the same time, if you look at the head-to-head record, right, which is what the one flaw with the bracket, Gen.G still had a better record than them because Gen.G beat them 3-1 and then Hanwha Life beat them 3-2. I really don't know. I feel like those two teams, to me, I would still put Gen.G on one, but it's so meta-dependent to really know what's going to happen. I feel like both are very valid. You can make a case for DK or T1, but you'd have a lot of a harder time.
For me, I look immediately at the mid lane. I think that Zeka really proved that he is not just a meta guy anymore. He can really like perform on a big stage. He basically doesn't feel pressure for some weird reason. Whereas Chovy was kind of the opposite, where we thought like, oh, he's the best, oh, he's the best, oh, he's the best. But slowly through the playoffs, it felt like he was good, but he wasn't doing Chovy things. He wasn't popping off in a big way. He wasn't being the big carry. Oftentimes just kind of put on Tristana and just kind of do your own thing, but not necessarily played around entirely. And so I feel like the timing of this for Hanwha Life is right. Like if Zeka is hitting his stride, Viper is fantastic. He's hitting his stride. Delight, obviously. Like Doran and Peanut, they've definitely have that's like the big thing where if you look at Hanwha Life, it's like there's no way. Like Wolf is saying, like it just feels almost wrong that these guys would lift a trophy just based on some of their performances internationally. But I don't know, it just feels like there's like a special timing right now for Hanwha Life Esports, especially after winning the finals, that I want to believe, I want to believe in this. Whereas for Gen.G, I feel like some of their flaws were slowly shown. That being said, I mean, they might just fix all of those and then go over, and they're still a fantastic team. And it's kind of funny that our second seed is the number one GPR rank, like the best maybe
AWS
in the world, and the second seed. I feel bad for any first seed that has to face them from any region. We'll see what happens in Swiss, but yeah, it's just I don't know. Like either of those teams could win. My heart is going with Hanwha Life right now.
My heart is definitely alongside the Hanwha Life. And I also watched Maple play 2 games of Akali yesterday. So I'm feeling pretty good about Zeka's chances of just running over the top of everyone, because Yone is actually the most broken mid laner on the patch.
Yeah.
And if Akali's playable, Zeka gonna play it. Like, that's just a guarantee. I'm sure it will figure out that Silas is broken. And then, like, what are you supposed to do against this guy? He just kills you. And if Syndra Orianna is going to be the meta as well, one of the things that tears them apart is a good, like, melee assassin style player. Like,
it's just Akali.
Zeka. Yeah. I mean, it's Akali. It's
Zeus.
like Yasuo. You can play Yasuo into that. Like, you can Yone it. We've seen Yones do relatively well into Syndra in the past.
One thing I think that Gen.G really mastered this year, and especially in summer season, was the ability to just get ahead in their lanes by default because they had the best players in the LCK, and then just turn that into massive macro leads, especially with strong split pushers like Tristana that Chovy abused so much. His Corki was quite strong as well, very safe to side lane in, so while he isn't destroying turrets very quickly, he can get some extra hits on a turret because he knows he's got that Valkyrie to get away. He knows Canyon's got vision because they have pry on all their lanes, so he feels safe to play like that. This meta, I mean, again, it's playing so far, so grain of salt, but it does feel like a little bit more team fight oriented. You need to fight for objectives. Ignoring objectives feels a little bit more costly of this meta. You can't just split push and push turrets and be like, I'm better at macro than you. how macro works on this meta feels very different. You know, you have to win a fight, then push vision, then slowly control. And Gen.G are good at team fighting, but maybe that's one thing Hanwha has an edge over them on is actually those clutch team fights and knowing when to fight and the angles they want to take. Like, when you look at the difference between Lehens and Delight, Delight is so good at engage. Not that Lehens isn't, but I think Delight's better than him right now at
sure.
engage. And
That's
Lehens,
not a slight to Lehens as well.
It's not.
Delight's
Like,
just so
That's what
good.
Delight does.
yeah, like Lehens is
Yeah.
a more well-rounded player with a crazy champion pool. He has all these eclectic picks. His Blitzcrank is really good.
And he's the team mascot.
But Delight masters the
And the
engage
captain.
champ on the meta, and
He's
then
macros.
he wins team fights for his team. So if it does become like who clutches the team fights better, which is what yesterday looked like to a certain extent, again with weaker teams obviously, and a little bit less Tristana just doing the boom boom to the turret, make it explode. You know, maybe then Gen.G aren't as strong. And if Canyon doesn't have winning lanes and Chovy's uncomfortable in this meta, then he looks weaker. So I mean, I could definitely see Hanwha playing better than Gen.G.
Yeah, another thing for Gen.G, I think that what goes against or kind of works against them is the fact that the meta was basically throughout like end of spring, MSI, start of summer, the meta was perfect for them. Obviously, like they were the best at it. No one could touch them. They were the best at lane swaps, which
Yep.
we don't, again, we're not going to treat playings data like it means anything. We had lane swaps in half the games and not in the other half. But the fact that the meta is most likely or is already shifting away, we saw PSG lose to Pain because they went for a nerfs aren't real, and it turns out they are, which was a very funny series. I think on the flip side, I do think that in that game 5, in the final, we saw Gen.G go back to something that's worked for them before, which was 2 carry compositions with the Kaisa, Keen back on Cassante. I think that is something they probably need to get rid of in like a final high stakes game.
Yeah.
Going back to what worked before and take the lessons from the series. So I think that in a way, you know, you learn more from losses than you do from wins. I think losing here might actually end up being, and if they end up winning Worlds, I don't think Gen.G is gonna care about losing LCK, right? I think the Worlds title
They did that
will
a few
make up.
times, so I
Yeah,
think it's-
exactly.
yeah,
The Worlds
so-
title will more than make up for it. And then on the flip side, I think that for Gen.G as well, looking at what the meta is going to be, again, outside of the champions I mentioned before, they should be solid in almost any meta if bot lane can, you know, keep their form up, which obviously in finals they got gapped pretty
yeah,
harshly.
they have players with so much flexibility.
Yeah.
I think like Pace hasn't necessarily been tested as much, but he just hasn't been around for all that long, right? But I don't think bottom lane has changed all that much. We know that Keen has a massive champion pool, has played across all sorts of metas
Rely on
and has
that
always
instead
done
of
pretty
blinding
well.
him, Cassante.
Yeah, I think blinding Cassante would be very sad. We saw some examples of that yesterday
Yeah.
already, and please let's
Play
just
Quinn
stop.
if they blind Renekton, you know? Give him
Yay! We did, like, was there a Vayne yesterday, or was that
There was.
was
Yeah,
that
there
a
was.
nightmare? Yeah,
Grasp
no, that was.
Vayne.
Yeah, good old grasp Vayne. So there's plenty of things that can be played on the top side of the map. We know that Chovy loves to abuse Syndra players, so I think that like this meta is great, not for Chovy playing Syndra, but for Chovy playing into
Against
Syndra.
He will
Yeah.
not play Syndra. There's no way.
Yeah, no, he's
It's
not.
not happening.
I don't know. I feel
he
like
won't.
I feel like if he gets the chance to, he might do it. Like
Like
he might
one
showcase
game.
that he can play it because it's been so irrelevant for so long now that like yeah, he only played it twice, but you know when everyone else was playing it, but it's been so long since then that maybe he's short up that weakness. I think I even though the data says otherwise, I feel like he will probably be going into this tournament, going to this meta with everyone's reads on Syndra proficient. Will he be like top 3 Syndra in the tournament? Maybe not, but I think he'll be proficient.
I mean,
I think we have to give Chovy some credit, you know.
No, I give him a lot of credit. I think on this one,
Nah,
like, no,
he's
it's
not
not
that great,
happening.
dude.
So
What about our
speaking
other
of-
teams?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So speaking of Syndra, should we talk about the fact that DK has been patched in? We're gonna have that conversation.
They actually have though,
Yeah.
which is kind of insane.
I mean, Vi and Trevi are still good, right? So Lucid's still fine.
Well, Trevi is seemingly perma-banned. I do think that one of the coolest things is that Rumble is no longer a must ban. So, you know, you actually get some space. We saw, like, still Ziggs banned, although, you know, he was nerfed.
I mean, it was only turret damage, right?
It was,
got
it was,
nerfed.
and Storm Surge got mega, but like Ox was just incessantly
we-
talking about how
yeah,
it was
yeah.
actually not a nerf, and obviously him and Brendan are resident
Ziggs
Ziggs
enjoys.
enjoyers. But
It's fine.
AD mid seemingly actually being gone, plus AD jungler buffs for Lucid, plus mages seeming good right now. Obviously, Dion is a problem. You can just ban that, and then everything else should be a lot better for DK.
Yeah, Showmaker is the Syndra player. Like we were talking about Chovy not being a Syndra player, which I still like. I swear I have
PGZ?
things in my memory.
He's not in Worlds.
The
We
Yone
can't
happened,
do it.
we
I
can't
don't
talk
make me
about
cry, Valdez.
You know this is a tough time.
Where's
Don't make me upset.
Yeah.
I've already talked about it. I already tweeted about it. I'm trying to put it out of my mind.
That's sad.
Yeah.
It's great for Lucid. I also think it's pretty good for aiming as well. I think it's a good meta for aiming, scaling, 80 carries. Doesn't have to.
I think
rely
Dive
on
is also
Kai'Sa.
still really strong at the moment. So like his Kai'Sa is.
He can
really,
still
really
play
strong.
it, right? Like, and his Kallista's pretty good. His Varus is, maybe that's not the
Forest
one. But
Jinx, doesn't
yeah,
have
the Jinx
escape.
also not. I mean, I think his Jinx is okay. I don't think it's as good as a lot of our other Jinx players. But it does feel like a really strong meta for them. Same for T1 though. Like if the bottom meta
we haven't
becomes
got
less
there
lane
yet.
swaps and a little bit more Callista pushing, a little bit more Ashe, very good for T1.
Yeah,
I'm
'cause
looking at Orianna being played a lot more, Jinx being played a lot more. The fact that like the top lane meta is kind of open ended and crazy, and the fact that Viego is good again. Like, yeah, I think that T1 they've said that like they want to give T1 a chance. They didn't look so hot on the last patch.
Because I think it's important to note as we go into Worlds, like I'm not going to be surprised if either DK or T1 end up making really deep runs. But I do think we collectively need to be very honest. Like right now, both teams in different ways are not good. I think for DK, it's just the team is volatile and always will because of the players on it. But T1, like a lot of what makes them good was nowhere to be seen in the series against KT. And that's fine. But I think we, again, need to make sure that this is documented so that we're not retroactively going like, if they end up somehow winning, which could happen.
Yeah.
I
Like,
think
wouldn't even
I
be
think the
that
cope
crazy.
angle maybe is that like eventually they figured out how to beat KT, and KT were playing like pretty well. I mean, KT weren't amazing, but
BDD
was
playing really
amazing,
well,
right?
He
They
was.
figured out how to beat BDD, and that was basically get a good patch. And I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with it, but that will help. But also kind of just allows Zeus to just play whatever he wants and get him counter picks. And I think this is a nice meta for that as well. So I think there's an angle for T1, especially give them some time to practice and get ready. They might be good. We know their form wasn't great, but also DRX made it through regionals and were able to eventually win. So it's a little bit of a cope angle. I wouldn't expect T1 to beat like 5 or 6 of these teams on this list, but at this point, from what we know, but
They
yeah,
are
I wouldn't be
sixth on the global
surprised.
power rankings. So that's-
They are 6th,
dare you,
yeah. So there are
Valdez.
like 5 above them approximately, including G2, that are above them. But yeah, I could definitely see them coming in and doing some stuff. I can't really see the same for DK.
Who do
though,
we
even
think
with
is
the
better
meta being
Out of
the way
what?
it is.
between those two teams.
D plus and T1.
Yeah.
I think D plus is right now, but T1 has higher chance of like
D
going
plus
farther.
beat them.
I know, but
I
mean,
think,
right now,
I'm
like,
saying
DK
D
are
plus,
better.
right? But maybe
I think there's an angle where T1's known to evolve quickly and
Yeah.
level up throughout a tournament like the Swiss stage. So I feel like, especially with the experience this roster has together and how T1 has shown that they're a little bit one-dimensional. Like they kept playing the same meta where they dive bottom, they push bot, they only play through bot, and they put Zeus on a counter pick. Like that's been the whole thing for this roster. So they're not that flexible, but I think they have shown some flexibility within best of 3 series, best of 5 series, and this team has more synergy than D plus has. I kind of give them an edge. I think they will level up. D plus is extremely one-dimensional in that they're everything to aiming
they have
carry.
2 dimensions. Okay.
I mean, look, sometimes 1 out of 10 games they will go to the
That's the
alternate
second
dimension, and 10% of the time they'll be like, okay, we're playing like a Vi, Ari, dive comp, or Showmaker's
Those are
got
my
a
favorite games.
Silas
TF
angle.
Mason, yeah.
Showmaker TF.
Yeah. Oh, baby.
Kassadin.
What?
I mean, that's the other that's part of that other dimension where they do weird stuff that's very D plus.
And it's actually good, and they do winning, and it's
Yeah.
great. I think that like it's an interesting conversation because I think that T1 would be better in knockouts. I think DK are better in Swiss.
Yeah.
I think
exactly.
DK are like
Yeah.
the best pub stomp team
Oh,
that
yeah.
we have. Like if they think they're better than you, they will slaughter you, and there will be absolutely nothing you can do about it. And I love that we see Lucid come into this roster, and like Lucid did that his entire challenger career every game.
Yeah.
And so now he's like going to Worlds and we get to watch Lucid do that on the World stage, which is likely what's going to happen.
Can't stop smiling.
I don't.
He literally is just the second coming of Canyon. I mean, it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
they're the same player basically.
I also think that like you can see the ceiling of Lucid when you see him play. You're like, holy crap, he's not even there yet. Like this player is going to be like out of control. Because I think when we first saw Canyon, we were like, wow, this guy's mechanics are extraordinary. But he already had like the brain, and Lucid doesn't quite even have the brain yet. But that can be taught.
Compared to, we're slowly seeing him grow his brain compared to like
Yeah.
spring, some of the moments he had there. And then now it's like it's slowly happening. I do think this Worlds, obviously, he's not expected to.
No, but I think that Swiss will be fun to watch
yeah.
Lucid play.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. And if T1 make it out, then I think that they'll stand as much of a chance as they did in
I'm sure
2023.
they
It's
will,
like it's
man.
really
Like,
silly.
I actually maybe it is one of those scenarios is what you were saying. Like if they don't, I think it's more likely that they drop out than that they not. If they get to playoffs or to knockouts, I think they actually do make a deep run again. I mean, just,
If they
T1,
get
you
there,
mean?
yeah.
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 For DK, I'm like,
Yeah.
if they end up getting to set, I will never, because I love the team a lot. I will never trust the team.
I'm going to be
You know, they could be
celebrating.
like
playoffs and get blasted by Weibo. Like, it's just not
Well,
going
I
to be
mean,
fun.
I think-
we'll be
I
like,
think-
hell yeah, this is going to be. Oh no!
I think
when
Weibo
DK
is,
make it to knockouts, I'm going to celebrate the top 8. That's
Yeah.
what I'm going
Yeah.
to do. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man,
Lucid
so
getting
proud
top
of these
8
guys.
in his first tournament. You know, king at
Hell yeah.
Moham.
Yeah, Moham getting up there. He couldn't even see where he was the whole time.
Moham's original haircut.
Oh,
What
so
a bang.
good.
I think Weibo's pretty good. I think they're better than LNG.
Yeah. Which
Sure.
is an interesting thing to say, given the context of what happened last year. But
Scout is not officially on the roster, so who knows?
yeah.
That could
Space
change,
coming back
obviously,
to somehow take Chovy out of the tournament.
There's a lot of
that's not
times
a real
where
narrative.
there's a lot of times where I look at people that are upset on the internet, and I'm like, oh, come on, grow up, guys. This one, I'm like, yeah, kind of with you on this one, guys. Although it is like it's a tragic situation. It's just not. There's not a whole lot of like who to blame. Like you don't know where to aim your pitchforks. It's just sometimes these things happen.
I'm still happy with the teams that we sent. I think BDD really deserve to be at Worlds. The rest of the team,
Fifth team BDD.
50. It's just
The name
BDD.
of the team is BDD. That's
Yeah,
just
why
their
didn't,
tri code.
why didn't LNG just get BDD?
Yeah.
Because you had to have someone from your region, Saj.
Yeah.
Really?
That would have
Yeah.
been that would have been the best timeline. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have even been mad if LNG ends up winning World with BDD. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, why did it have to
Not
be
very
someone
well.
from the
Great
LPL? You know?
competitive integrity,
If that's
but that would be a great
foreshadowing
story.
that that BDD is going to go to the LPL next year, then
And win. If
I would be
BDD
very
wins at the
upset.
LPL, I'll be very happy.
I'd be happy for BDD, but I just kind of want him to do it here.
Yeah.
That would be nice. But we'll see. We'll see exactly what's going to happen. Deft going to the military and Berserker coming back to Korea, maybe. Like, who knows what could happen? All sorts of things. But speculation for next year is
Maybe some
going to
KT
happen probably
players,
afterwards.
KT players getting pulled up. That'd be great. That'd be nice.
Dude.
Some KT challengers,
Pulled
by
up
the
to
way.
the LEC?
Don't you start with me, Wolf.
Wait,
KT
wait.
challengers
Like, no
that
one pulled
won
up to the
is the
LFL?
first challenger team ever to win both spring, summer, and then also
And
completely
LEC
sweep
winter season.
ASCII.
How do we-
which is a bit of a
Mal's
sus
favorite
tournament,
tournament, yeah.
How do we feel about just hype and humbug on KT?
but yeah,
I'm a big
I think
Humbug
hype
fan.
is
Wouldn't
actually
that just
gonna,
be like incredible?
I think I don't know about, but I think hype 100% is getting pulled
I mean,
up.
hype's super good. That's why
Is
the
that
Berserker
Humbug
theory is
hate
not
I
great.
hear?
No, I just
Humbug
I don't-
disrespect.
No. I don't know what. No. I just
Okay.
think that maybe I don't know what PO6's contract length is, so maybe he's contracted for another year.
Oh, I thought the KT were all 1 year.
Oh, I
Moving
mean,
in.
makes
Just
a
be-
lot more sense.
Yeah, just because
Then-
they were
no,
like,
then
we
you-
I
want to
think
play together.
Perfect is the only one who's a multi-year.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, no, then 100% you pull up Humbug. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
They already
Perfect
pulled
Humbug sounds
casting
little-
up, even though Perfect has the multi-year contract. Like they played him.
I mean,
because
he
he
had
was
to 'cause
ill.
he was sick,
he was
yeah.
ill.
Yeah,
But he played really well, so it's fine.
Yeah, I think Casting's also a good player. I think like
Sorry, I had to
don't
get a little bit of challengers in.
No, that's totally fine because I
Challenger's
also
corner.
think that like KT fans would have liked us to talk about some KT, and we spoke about BDD. We didn't talk about the team KT, even though I guess it is the team KT based on what we saw in their last match. And maybe there's
Sorry,
going to be
Beryl.
some nice things
Sorry,
to
Deft.
think about in the future. I don't think like they had a poor showing. I just think that they had a 5th place team showing, and that's what they were.
It's a hard region. It's
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah, and from what we've already said, One last thing I want to say is it felt like moving into this patch, it felt like our teams were balanced. The balance patch was we had this.
Oh, it
you know?
equalized.
And it kind of equalized the LCK teams. I feel like T1 and DK were both kind of brought up to meet Hanwha that were already like buffed a little bit on the patch, and Genji got brought down. So feels good. And that's putting Genji still above Hanwha.
Well, Hanwha-
agreeing with this, which is...
I mean,
rankings.
it's the category thing, right? Like Hanwha, Genji are one category, DK,
Yeah.
T1 are.
And as Wolf
Yeah.
was saying all year, like the category up here was really, really far away for a really long time.
There's a big gap.
Yeah, and so it's feeling a little bit closer. That is cool. Let's talk about some other regions. And so
What?
Yeah, I know it's weird. And
Why?
you guys can turn off the video. Feel free just to leave your Valdez comment. Leave your Valdez comment below, and
I didn't watch,
and go about
but-
your business.
Yeah.
Yeah, your I didn't watch, but comment. That would be fantastic.
We're about to leave ours.
yeah.
Okay, but this is the worst part. Okay, because I actually
I didn't watch the other regions.
no. This is the worst part. I actually because I was in Europe as the LEC finals were happening, so I actually did watch the team live.
There
and I
you
hated
go.
it, and I'm still going to talk about them.
I'm going to talk about the only team I feel like I can talk about because my mate's coaching it. Like that.
Gammy Sports.
Yeah, Gary Sports.
Love Gemi Esports. They're
Wait,
the best.
who's their coach?
It's the guy. It's the bald guy.
Oh yeah, it's that guy. Yeah, no,
Super
he's
lovable.
actually
Yeah.
really nice. I shook his
the
hand.
best.
He was shaking everyone's hand though. He's just really excited.
I've seen him
about
Is he
I'll
the
know his
coach?
name.
I thought he was.
No,
just-
that's their team owner.
It's
Yeah.
the manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Is
guys
that
say
coach? Oh, sorry, no.
who's their coach? Oh, it's the
Oh
Buck.
no, it's the manager. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
bad.
So never mind.
different. Yeah.
Okay.
Who
so,
wants to go first?
well, Mao's already kind of given his away. So have I. But let's let Mao go first.
So I'm gonna talk a little bit about Fnatic, which hurts me a little bit because I did, as I mentioned, because I was in the Netherlands for a wedding, I did actually watch them for 3 games, which normally I'm not.
It did get
just
some of the best Cadril content.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not gonna lie.
Time zone wise, normally the LEC is the hardest region for us to watch. I really prefer live watching. So sometimes I catch a little bit of LCS, but outside of just prep for Worlds,
I feel like it's the hardest region for you to watch
'Cause I don't-
you
not on
fall
gamer
asleep
hours.
early and then
Yeah.
you wake
Yeah.
up early and then you can watch the end of LCS. Whereas
Yeah.
for all of us, we're LCS is the easiest to watch because we're up at night. And
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm busy playing
LCS is
Battlegrounds, and I'm like,
impossible.
oh, I want some background, and then
Yeah.
I'm sort of half watching LEC,
Yeah.
which is it's great because it feels like a fever dream watching that region.
so because they do have very easy, right? They have 2 challenger players, so obviously I'm gonna enjoy. I also think that Razork is actually legitimately a top tier.
Good old
jungler.
Razor K.
Yeah, good old Razor K, which
Hell
is
yeah.
really cool. Fnatic to me is such an interesting team when the int is obviously a little bit capitalized in that. I really can see them just do a number on teams in Swiss, right? And then I can also equally likely see them just completely bomb out. Because to me, the entire roster, if you're just an LCK fan, so it's Oscarinin, Razor, Humanoid, Noah and Jun. So Noah and Jun you might know from either LCK
I
or...
was an LCK player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
or-
was June.
So was June, yeah.
They were both.
2022
You said they were challenger
DRX.
players,
June-
but I'm like,
Well, I mean,
Do
they
you
really
really
were.
play in the LCK if you're playing alongside Taeyoon though?
Yeah, it was playing alongside Taeyoon and on their
Fair.
only CV Max roster, so I feel like that's not the best
Yeah.
circumstances.
Yeah, so he hasn't played in the LCK. He's been handicapped in the LCK.
This is how we keep
see.
people as rookies for 2 years, these type of criteria.
challenger players
but-
forever.
But
Yeah.
I think Fnatic to me is such an interesting team because I love that they tried so hard to actually be a good early game team in the LEC, then succeeded and still managed to get 3-0. And I think that particularly in a best of 1 scenario, there are a lot of memes around this team about the heart attacks they give. But I think that in a best of 1 scenario, that might be what gets you. If you start off just with an early upset win, it can really build the type of momentum that can make a big difference, right? Imagine you end
Especially
up
for
going,
Noah.
Yeah, imagine.
Yeah.
Well,
Very
yeah,
emotional.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. I was because
and that kind of bit them last time, so hopefully
Yeah.
they learned from that.
Imagine you get an early upset win against a 3 or 4 LPL or LCK team. Like that can be enough, I think, for this team to really keep the faith. The downside, obviously, is that their macro is like we sometimes complain about our team's macro, but Fnatic is obviously on another level in that regard. On a personal level, though, I really like this team. I think that Noah's struggles is something that a lot of Korean pros will deal with and not be vocal about at all. And I think it's really cool to see the difference in a player that is in another region, where I imagine they're a lot more incentivized to be open about this and discuss this kind of stuff. I also think there was a really big improvement of his individual performance, even though it didn't end up mattering in season finals. And again, I think that Razork specifically, and it's not like a couple of years ago, I feel like over the last couple of years, he has been regarded a lot higher. But I just love watching good junglers. And I think that even though G2 obviously is very far ahead of them as a team, Razork to me individually is the best jungler coming out of Europe. So I'm really excited to see what Fnatic can do this time around.
How far do you think they're going to go?
Oh, I'm not going to make any statement.
I'm just curious, like
I'm not
this
gonna make
team to look
any,
out
I'm
for
not-
from
I'm
the
not-
LEC.
I'm not going to make.
I think they'll get to 2-2.
Semis or-
I think that if you watch them, you will have a good time. So I would highly recommend watching them.
So they're a team to keep an eye on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could.
That's what it says right there on the
Yeah.
Valdez is a stickler for the criteria.
Okay, but that's my thoughts on Fnatic. And I didn't really talk about Oscarinin or Humanoid as much. They're not players that I resonate with. Obviously, Humanoid has had some great games. I think Oscarinin plays some fun stuff. But for me, it's bot lane, then Razork that I think makes his team really fun and exciting.
Yeah. My team is going to be a little bit shorter. Chronicler went a little bit challengers and went a little bit deep, and that's okay because he
did as
actually
well.
did
Yeah,
know
yeah,
I watched
yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
I picked G2 just simply because I think this team has always looked really good at international tournaments. Obviously, they're such a legacy team for Worlds, like MSI as well. I've always performed very well. I thought their MSI performance, which I did actually watch a significant amount of, they overperformed because, like Valdez mentioned, we watch a lot of LEC late at night. I'm often very disappointed with the region. I see G2's results, their win rates at the top, and I go, well, I mean, how impressive is that when you just kind of stomp everybody and you're the one team that didn't really invest in rookies that much, whereas the rest of the region is pulling a lot of LCK talent in. We're seeing a lot of younger talent from the LEC also coming in. G2 still has the money, the funding to keep like this roster together and they still have caps. It's a roster obviously that has a lot of veterans on it. And then they performed really well at MSI, I thought, for my expectations, right? Obviously, they didn't make finals or anything like that, but I was impressed with some of the games, some of the comebacks we saw from them. They kept their composure really well, and they have really good macro. They have a really good champion pool for this meta. Hansama has an insane win rate on Kalista, right? His Ashe is very good. So I do feel like this team has the tools in this meta to excel. Caps can play anything, so I'm not really worried about like the meta shift affecting him in any way. Like I feel like his mages are what he's arguably most famous for in the past. So I think G2, I'm not confident in this, but I feel like I would not be shocked, and I almost expect that they'll make knockouts. Like I feel like it's hard to imagine top 8 without this team going. I think this is the one Western team that could actually,
And they get
have
home
a good
ground
shot.
advantage, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's also true. So just super successful, super dominant, but that doesn't translate into it. We see this a lot with the play-ins region teams where you dominate your region, you show up internationally, you're like, oh, no one ever tested me like this, But G2, these players have been tested like this a ton. So they're one of the teams I've really got my eye on going into this tournament.
All right, Valdez.
Good choices. Especially, I mean, Wolf chose such a really highly ranked on the GPR calculated by AWS team in
Kinda
G2.
basic.
Yeah, going for number 5. I'm going to go for number 2 on the list. I feel like we have to include at least one LPL team. Although, as Wolf did allude to before, this is one of the regions that we do have a rough time of watching because they're live while we're live very often. So BLG, right? This team is the favorite from LPL to actually win the tournament if LPL are going to win the tournament. They did a number to Gen G in last year's Worlds. They have really strong players. I think about Bin specifically is kind of like this guy who will be super clutch. He will pull out the Camille. He will kind of kill LCK teams at times. Now, this year, they didn't do that at MSI, right? They lost to Gen G, and they're really going to be fiending for that revenge in Worlds, right? So they have a lot of reasons to come into this Worlds and say, okay, this is LPL's year, this is BLG's year, we didn't do well at MSI, we're going to come in. And the players they have, I mean, with Knight and Elkanon, like, these guys are just incredible as a team. So if there's one team that, if you're like a big LCK fan and you're not sure who to look out for, who's kind of scary,
scared for, yeah,
it's definitely BLG. And the other teams, especially Top Esports, are also very strong from the LPL. But like BLG is the one where it's like, holy crap, these guys might just win it all. So I think if these players have a good, like, if they're feeling good about this meta, if they're having really good, momentum, good form at this tournament, they might just win it all. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on them.
Also doesn't have the volatility of, say, Top Esports. Shout out to Ox.
Or the volatility. I mean,
I
this is
don't
also
know.
not the volatility of like the EWC format where the LPL teams didn't
Top
end
Esports,
up doing as well.
I
as
mean,
people
Top-
They may
expected.
just lose in Swiss.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Top just like completely crushed Genji and then went on to lose to T1 narrative too strong, that sort of thing. Like, I still think that, I think what that tournament kind of showed us was that like LPL, LCK, very similar level. And I'm also scared of Bin. I just
He's
think
really scary.
He's really
Zika
good.
Bin
Great
will
aura.
win.
And also Worlds, I feel like Worlds always, for me, it always comes down to top lane. In my brain, like, if a top laner is feeling it,
Yasuo top.
like,
I knew you were going to say it.
I knew otherwise you were going
How dare you?
That's true.
like-
If you didn't, I was going to say it.
because it's like it's
I was
like
thinking
positives
Dorn on
and
Aatrox,
yeah, that's what
actually.
that's what I was thinking. I'm
Why
like,
would you bring that?
because like
You
sometimes
believe in Hanwha life.
Yeah, but it's different this time.
yeah, he hasn't flashed over the wall
This
yet.
time it's different. Yeah.
He just hasn't
Yet?
flashed over the wall yet. He hasn't. When he does that, that's when our faith will be lost. But until that moment, but like I feel like it's like that is so like it's emotionally demanding. I think like because I feel like it was our last bastion of like 1v1, and I know like lane swaps still exist. They've tried to kill them as much as possible, but it hasn't quite worked. I think that there still will be a lot of times where a top laner is required to 1v1 his opponent for pressure. And I just don't, like, Bin is just so freaking good. And I think that we have had moments where, Zayas has shown some flaws. Keen is not necessarily as powerful as he was, especially after, losing to Hum Life Esports. I think that Keen's still ridiculously good, but I don't know whether Kingen is going to be, like, that guy. I don't know whether we're going to, see as much out of Doran. Even if he hasn't flashed the wall yet, he always has it in him. And so, like, yeah, I'm a bit
I feel like
scared.
Keen, if I look at the LCK top laners, I'm like, Keen's the only one where I feel like pretty good about the matchup. Everyone else, I'm like,
But Keen has to be
So-
confident, because if Keen's not confident,
yeah.
then he
yeah, I'm not even
kinda
super
look-
confident about Keen, but Keen's the closest one where I go, okay, Doran, Kingen, Zayas versus Bin right now, current form Zayas, I'm like,
It's
not feeling
like
good about it.
I don't think I think for all of them, if they have a good day, they can match up. But I think in most cases, I would agree.
You
with
wouldn't
that
predict
Bin-
it to
No,
happen.
exactly right. Like no one's going to be shocked if Doran ends up having some because we've seen him of him, and I think Kingen out of those is probably the lowest on the list. But even then, you can go back to his big game Hunter games and
Yeah,
kind of
he has
relate to
moments.
that. But
If he's in
I would
form.
agree. I think the only one that should be on the same level, and even that is arguable, is Keen.
Yeah, and
I
that's
think Bin
only
kinda
if
stands
Keen
alone.
has a Canyon that's performing well
Yeah.
alongside him. And I think that, Genji will be capable of, theoretically, the Genji that we know will be capable of shutting down a team like that, but I don't know whether
Yeah, the
that's
only
true.
thing I do think is funny is that even though Wei, I think individually has been a lot better, if it actually is ends up being still an Italy Jarvan meta, then it's like, Sean,
If Jug, yeah.
why are you not in good form?
Yeah.
But no, BLG is.
But also, like, every LPL jungler is so good at Jarvan. The Jarvan is the LPL jungler and has been for forever. That's just the thing.
Is
They-
Tarzan an LPL jungler now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
I guess so.
Tarzan's
it's been
Jarvan
long enough,
performance
yeah.
the last World's probably not something.
Maybe
you
he's
want-
still an
why I-
His
LCK
new
jungler when it
recently,
comes to
though,
that.
Yeah.
pretty good.
I mean, Tarzan's still an incredible player,
He's
right?
good,
Like,
yeah, but
Well, if we give Doran a hard time for his moments, we should do the same to Tarzan. I think
That's true.
I think Weibo's mega underrated though. I feel like this team just kind of had the we get to finals and then the next day we have to play Gauntlet.
Yeah, it's
That's
not,
a thing
it's-
that happened, guys. That's not good scheduling, by the way. That shouldn't.
No.
You shouldn't have your world spot be decided the day after you play a grand final. That's not like that
Yeah.
shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah.
I think they would have definitely ended up higher if not. They wouldn't have ended as third seed if not for that.
Well, I'm going to
Who's
talk
your
about
team to keep an eye on?
Team Liquid, mainly because why else would I talk about any other team when Spawn's their coach? And that means that, I know a bit about this team just in general. And I think that, like, if there's ever a team from NA that's going to do well, it's going to be Team Liquid. Not necessarily based on, like, their results, because the LCS playoffs were a bit of a nightmare for TL. They probably don't want to revisit that. Not quite as bad as C9, but still not exactly where we wanted things to go. There was definitely a fair bit of cinema going on. But I just think that TL's mindset going into internationals is the best of any team from the West that we've seen in a really long time. And I think that they grind exceptionally hard. I think that their ability to dissect a meta is very, very good. And I think the difference between their style and other teams is that they both look at the meta and look at what their players are good at. And then they play towards that. And you've mentioned already that Ziggs got nerfed but actually buffed, and that's the APA champion, right? So, like, we're feeling pretty good about that. I think meta-wise, they're going to be pretty patched in. I don't think Smolder is nerfed enough for a team like TL to stop playing it, especially, even if we all hate the champion.
Was still play. I know there was. I think it was Cream was still playing it. Grass Smolder in solo queue.
Yeah, and I think that, like, that's still something that they can utilize. And I think that Core JJ, Impact, both incredible players. I think APA has actually just gotten better and better over his time. I think Umpty's the general, as we know. And, like, this is a team, it's just fun to watch. Like, this my brief, right, going into this, is teams to look out for. Well, I want to look at TL. I think TL are a fun team to look at. And I don't know whether they're necessarily going to go far. I think that there's going to be 4 LCK teams in semis. So I don't really understand this brief. But it's fine because I want to watch TL play because I think that they're fun.
In truth, to pull back the curtain a little bit for people watching this, like 3 out of the 4 of us, or maybe even Valdez as well, were all wanted to pick TL for this.
I didn't want to pick TL.
Okay, he didn't want to.
Yeah, I did not want to.
Well, the 3 of us wanted to pick
Valdez
TL.
thought that we're all idiots, and we should have all just picked
Quest? What about Papa Smithy?
LPL
I mean, look, I love Papa Smithy, but that's another conversation for another time. TL has proven to me they have the strategy, they have the macro, they have the grind set. Like, they know how to prepare well. Like, at
the grind
set. I mean, like, come on, it's a mindset to grind.
Bro,
it's a grind set.
They're early risers. They're Sigma grinders.
Yeah.
I do think that when I watched them play at EWC, I had such respect for how they approached those best of threes in a format like that. They came incredibly ready. They could have won the whole tournament. And that really switched a light on for me. Like, I should watch out for this team because they're smart. They come up with good drafts. Their execution of drafts is really good. You even compare them to, like, Gen G, who just came in like, we're better, it doesn't matter, and we're going to win this tournament. And then they lose in the first round because they didn't prepare well. Like, TL cares. They want to achieve something. They want to win something really badly. I think there's some drive in these players that you don't see from a lot of other veterans just because they've won a lot of stuff already, some of them, or they're at least already very famous. They're already popular, like G2 players. I picked them, but they've already made their mark quite substantially.
Yeah, without winning Worlds. And, like, what you're talking about, like, Impact and Core JJ that have actually achieved that ultimate
but they
goal,
still have that
going.
Yeah, they still have that mindset that, like, I want to achieve more, I want to do more, and you could just see it on their faces when they play. You could see, obviously, Spawn when he talks about the team, their coaching decisions, that they're working hard for something. And the team kind of inspires me. I don't know if I think they're going to, like, make top 4 or something crazy like that, but I do not think that they will disappoint us. I think that NA fans should be clutching on to the TL hope tight because I think it is their only hope to actually have any sort of deep run in this tournament.
I just think Yappa is funny.
He is very funny.
And also,
as well,
I know that Emily's talked to me a lot about this, that he has you were talking about them being grinders. Like, he has had that reputation for years because he's pulled up from academy, right? Like,
and it's also, like, I remember seeing, like, multiple videos of people talking about how annoying he was in solo queue, like, before he was even a pro. Like, he would be in every single game, and he would be incredibly annoying. He'd be winning, and he'd be, like, his mechanics were great, but he wouldn't shut up, like, forever. Like,
and now
it's very funny. I love it.
He's had multiple international tournaments. I'm sure his Korean and his Mandarin has gotten a lot better. So
it shouldn't, though. Like, it can't get better because then, like, he can't understand the flame if he does something wrong, and, like, that's always really good. Although, wait, he's APA, so he's just immune to flame anyway. So
I think that I think collectively we might give more put more stock into FlyQuest if we didn't cast Quad. Like very recently on Longshim. That sounds really mean. And then like for both Quad and Quid, I always love it when players are able to go do a different region and like really come to their own. I think that Quid being at Worlds is really cool. That's a player that I've always doubted going way back to when he was on.
Shout out to the Kips.
Yeah, the one guy that always believed in him back when he was on the Genji Challenger roster, right? So like I like those individual storylines, but outside of Inspired, I worry about that team in terms of, even though their storylines I think are really, really cool. And Masu in the video was hella dope.
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool. But yeah.
And my second team to keep an eye on is Top Esports.
Talked to Ox recently about this.
Nah,
Is Jackie Love the best player to ever exist?
He is. I've talked a lot to Ox about it.
Okay.
He's told me all I need to know.
About all the
that's
false narratives of Jackie inting when it's not true.
Yeah. I do think best of one.
never
Which
made a mistake.
That was a team call. That was a team call.
I do think it's.
You gotta
it's
take him at his
overdone.
worst to get him at his best. I think
Yeah,
that's
you
what he
don't deserve
oftentimes
him at his
says.
best,
I
that's
do
true.
think
Well,
that best of ones might be a little bit of an issue for this team, but if they can make it through Swiss, they'll probably be pretty good.
Or not. You never know. It's TES.
Probably.
Every time
Probably be
Top
pretty good.
Esports comes in hyped up, they bomb.
Well, this is the
that
thing.
has been a thing.
So
I've
when-
always
when
Happens
doing-
to one LPL team every Worlds, right?
There
Like
will be
somebody
one.
bombs.
Yeah.
And it might be
Although
them.
last year there wasn't. Last year was. Although I do think again, there was because of the draw. Like an LCK team was always going to get eliminated, but you know, last Worlds they got all 4 out, and it was a. And that I don't think is that
LNG
big of a deal.
kind of underperformed in that quarter, right?
Well, yeah, they got
Against T1.
3-0'd.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
so that
but-
was like the one thing where it was like, it wasn't a bomb out, but it was like, whoa, that was a underperformance.
It was the flip of the year before, right? Where it was free. In 2022 it was free LCK, 1 LPL, and then last year was T1 running the LPL.
We had a
Yeah,
bit of a
but-
weird thing because obviously the new rules will prevent this type of situation from happening, but like NRG just kind of became this like shock absorber team, and by shock absorber, like they took all the easy ones, like they made it so that like we had this crazy weird.
I just like shock absorbers when you're talking about a team.
Because they just
The
ended up having the lucky
suspension of
run,
the Swiss stage.
and so like the other teams had a rougher time. Like KT, for example, D Plus had a rougher time. I don't think we'll have that anymore. I don't think we're gonna have like the freebie team. Like it's not like gonna be like Yagao's run because he only hit NA teams and like now he's top 4. I don't think that's gonna happen this time with the new rules for how
Rainbow
the
beating
tournament works.
BLG is still so funny to me, man. That they did that last year.
Last year was a very weird world.
The Shy had a really good semifinal.
It was a very rare Worlds. It was very hard for Riot to make the video with Linkin Park. It's a lot. I read those comments.
That's what
I saw the comments.
Talk
They
more
talked
about the
it.
video.
Wait, were we like in a 2-shot for a little bit and Valdez is just down here like with his headphones in, like watching
Yeah.
the video? Like that's what's happened?
Valdez
Oh,
is like,
man.
I loved all the shots of Deft in the video. I saw a lot of pictures of him on the internet. I think Ashley did a really good job of showing like what shots they were looking for.
Yeah.
I saw her
Perfect.
tweet.
Different
They knew it was
faces.
They knew it was the last dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, another last dance. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, but that's totally fine. But I think that like I don't have a clear view of the teams that are going to be in the knockout stage yet, and I think that there is room for upset, and so I'm happy with that.
I feel
upset.
pretty
I think,
pretty
well,
confident that it will
yeah.
definitely be Humble
Maybe
Life Genji. It'll definitely be BLG and another LP. I don't know. I want to say TES, but I feel like that alone, it should be right. Like
I think like yeah, it's the
those 4 teams should 100% be locked in.
yeah. The
like-
the LNG situation is really sad, so I don't know whether we're going to see
We don't
them
know,
going
right?
that far.
And like I think narratives notwithstanding, if TES somehow bomb out, I wouldn't be surprised. But they should, based on level, 100%. Them and T1 Genji or not T1 Genji Hanwha BLG TES, and then is it G2? Is it TL? Is it
that's the thing.
FlyQuest?
I think we have. For me, I'm like the top 8 has 3 or 4 from like LPL, LCK. Like we get 7 of the 8, and then 1 of maybe G2 or TL is like the 8th team, and 1 of the LPL or LCK teams falls out.
It's just one best of 3, right? Like
Yeah.
I think that particularly when you look at some of the matches that DK or T1 has had this split, T1 obviously plot armor coming in like them at Worlds. I don't imagine, but if you tell me that G2 beats either of those teams, literally G2 beat DK.
I mean, I'm looking at the rankings and like
Okay, well,
I think they've already beaten them.
Calculated by AWS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the algorithm has already dictated that G2 have won.
It's actually so. No, I'm not gonna get into it.
I mean, G2. So G2 got fifth.
Ramping up.
G2 got fifth because of their MSI performance and some of their historical performance. Obviously, their domestic performance. T1 gets 6 over D+, who beat them domestically because they won EWC, I guess.
Well,
but
it's over the.
Worlds?
It's over. No, so
No?
we'd actually. It's over like the last 2 years. So obviously T1 is gonna
Okay,
have.
so world
or like
champions, so they
maybe
get
a
a little-
year,
a little
like year and a
bonus.
half. It's a longer period, and domestic performance also is factored in. And in T1's case, it's because recently they've had a really rough time, but they would still be.
Why is it over 2 years though? If rosters change every year.
I don't ask me these things.
I mean, it
Douglas.
might be some teams don't if they have a changed roster. Like
I don't
T1
know what
doesn't
the
have a
exact.
changed roster.
But I
so-
know that the idea is that it's not meant to be a perfect representation. It's just that if you beat a lot of good teams, you will climb, and if you drop games, then you will
Just
fall.
win.
And that's
I
where
like the concept of it, to be honest, because it removes like the like, I will dominate power rankings video like from the conversation for a little bit and goes like, this is our rankings, and like you don't have to follow them and you don't have to like them,
but
but
it adds the Dom video.
Sure.
It adds the Cato
Sure.
video, and I think that like you get to have those discussions.
exactly
as
they
So it's the
well.
bounce
most
they
fun
bounce
part
off
of
each
going into
other,
Worlds,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
and then you have the fans who don't care about the hardcore video to be able to be like, oh well, like maybe G2 could get top 5, and like then they could think that and believe that and be happy about that. And obviously reality will sink in and like the rankings will change. But I think if this system is developed and continued over the next few years, it will get more accurate, it will get better, and it'll be cool. I like that we can see like,
I
the
also
Pain
like-
Gaming is 53rd,
Yeah.
in the world. Like that's fun. I want to see where Bro is on
Reminds
this
me of
list, to be honest.
like a sports video game, where it'll be like, okay, this roster is not very good from, a random region that doesn't play a lot of hockey, but like they're number 53 in the world, like that kind of thing. So it's cool. I like it.
And I also think it doesn't need to get more accurate. I just like the fact that it starts a conversation. Like looking at this, and you've got PSG. We saw PSG versus Pain, and if you were like to tell me after game 1 that
Who are-
there is 30 places between them in the world
Who are
rankings,
8 and 9? Is it like KT and JDG?
I hope KT's not there.
No, I mean like
They need to be
but
right.
that's
in
my
the
point.
middle.
KT,
Probably.
like
Can we
most
see it? Is it-
likely,
is it- can you
Oh yeah,
search
yeah,
them?
of course we can look it up. But I think it's funnier.
Is there
to
like a
just
global
discuss.
power ranking of literally every
Yeah,
team?
yeah,
You
yeah.
can
There
actually
is.
look that up.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's
so just,
super cool.
But
like
okay,
the tennis and
so
stuff.
Wolf's gonna look it up, but I think it's what KT 8th, like KT and JDG, who both do not
If
make
it's over
worlds,
2 years, then it's JDG.
over LNG. Well, it should be right.
and
So
then
like
KT.
Yeah,
maybe
KT. Yeah, JDG.
LNG 8 or sorry, JDG 8th,
All right.
KT
KT
9th.
9th, LNG 10th, Weibo 11th.
Okay. JDG 8, KT 9,
Yeah.
We fixed it.
Ninjas
Nice.
of Pajamas 12.
Good job, team.
Let's see where Bro is at, though.
Yeah, where's bro? Where's bro?
The real question.
I need to know where
I'm
Bro
guessing
Don't ever
like
say it's Brover.
34.
Wait,
No,
they only go
no,
to 80,
no,
it
I'm
looks
not,
like.
I'm not. I'm guessing
They're not top 80?
They're not top 80, it
They're not
appears.
top 80.
Is DRX in there?
Wait, so you're saying
I don't
that
think I saw
Wait, bro,
DRX.
like 105?
Wait, let's
You're
see.
saving
Unless I missed them.
that R7,
Maybe it is Brovo.
you're saying that Pain Gaming.
Yeah, so I'm
is
saying
better than
Carmine
Bro.
Corp is higher than them, yeah.
Carmen Corp had a good run for a little bit. there.
Kwangdong is 21. B&K is 25. Bro's
46.
46.
Oh, I passed them. Oh, yeah, there they are.
Okay.
Thanks, Kion. That kind of fits.
I was kind of hoping
My
they would be
brain
69.
narrative.
DRX is 41.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
DRX is 41. Okay. We're like top 50. Where's Nongshim? Where are the
Nongsham's
noodles?
one above Carmine Corp. 30 to Carmine Corp's 30.
That's my boy Gio.
Oh, not bad.
RNG 36. Rip. Immortals below R7.
I do like the fact that the idea of a list that
interesting.
goes deeper than just.
Yeah, no, I actually think it's cool because, like, you talk about it in the tennis all the time, right? Like, he's world blah blah blah, and he's world this and blah, and
I mean, it's
none
not
of
a
it
fact.
actu-
It's
yeah.
not a fact. It's
just
just
a
a-
ranking.
it's a
and
ranking.
arbitrary,
Also-
and it just helps to frame things. For
Well,
viewers.
this
I think
one
it's
also
fine.
is just based on very straightforward like wins and I know there's some other stuff, but it's mostly just wins and losses. So it's
and that's
those
the
wins
best
and
way to
losses
do
are
it.
scaled differently based on who they were against.
which is the relative strength.
Yeah.
Probably
exactly.
better than some probability rankings that exists.
Well,
I
I-
have,
but
I
it has a-
have,
there's a
I've
system.
seen some certain not to be named.
Not going to name any
lists.
names,
Yeah.
but yeah.
There's a
Probably
system,
better
though.
than some, yeah.
So it's not biased because it's just a system, right?
Yeah.
So
And
is it-
systems
is it-
are
is it
notoriously
accurate?
never
No,
biased.
it's not accurate, but it's a system, right? Like so.
And
I mean,
also,
yeah.
all predictions are never accurate, and like this is a game
Except
that
if
can
you're
go all
Ox.
sorts of different ways. Like it's
Because he predicted Tama. It's just
It was a meme prediction. Like he
Didn't
did not
Chronicle
know.
win the predictions of regular season?
and then I immediately mega ran it down in playoffs. Yeah, I really
Same.
did not do a good job in playoffs, but I won both the other ones, so who cares?
Yeah.
Did I get a 0% in the playoffs? I think I did, almost intentionally, because I tried to bet against KT every single time, and it took them a while to lose. But it's okay. They did lose very convincingly at the very beginning, so that was fine. So anyway, I think it is time for us now to wrap this up. It has been an absolute joy. I hope that we weren't too frustrating with a lot of our opinions. I feel like this is a very opinionated episode, but maybe that's just the beginning. Made me very happy.
We didn't talk
anyway.
about 2-1 that much.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you guys can in the comments down below if we didn't let people know that Viego and Lee Sin are back in the meta again enough.
Hopefully,
I mean, we saw one of them
know.
at least already. So
but again,
not a
play
believer.
instance.
I'm not
it
a
is
believer.
fake data. That is very true. Where's the Amumu?
Was it?
Not a
Was it
believer.
2021 where like basically like an entire playoffs meta or play-ins meta was a whole thing, and then Barrel like B1'd Yumi.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was B1'd Yumi in game one of groups, and I was like, oh well, I guess this is the meta
That was
now.
fun. Yeah.
Yep. And sometimes you just don't know what's broken. But anyway, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a joy to be back in on the couches one more time. Not as much of a joy to have a moustache here, but we let you get away with it for quite some time during this episode.
Yeah, I
so-
feel like we didn't haze him that much. This
Yeah,
episode.
we didn't-
You have a
we really
mustache.
You guys
No, we've got
We
a
both have
beard.
mustaches.
Yeah, so does Ian. But like,
Well-
we're not trying to copy each other.
Yeah,
we just naturally had them. Somebody come in
You
here,
have-
Oh,
it's
Ian has
part
a
of-
nice mustache. I should probably get one.
It's part of the beard, okay? It's part of the beard. It's still a mustache.
No, I'd have to shave the rest of it off.
No, it's still a mustache. It's just part
It's
of the
part
beard.
of the beard, yeah.
But it is a mustache.
So today, Chronicler basically told everyone he thinks a mustache is just the top of the beard.
It is.
It is.
I mean,
So your hair is actually the top of the beard as well. Like the hair, your facial hair is just part of the beard.
No,
your chest
obviously-
hair is
It
part of
ends
your beard
here.
as well.
ends here. There's a
my chest hair is actually a goatee.
There's a
Wolf.
line.
I'm not responsible to figure your hair starts. I don't know where your hairlines start and end.
Well, I know that a mustache is when you only have this part of the hair, and you can have ones that go down here as well. That's a different style of mustache.
I do actually have a picture of
He does
Yeah,
have the
while
hammer
Siri,
down.
shaving.
what's a mustache? The hair that grows on the upper lip of some men is called a mustache.
Just the hair. It's not, yeah. It doesn't have to be alone.
it's the specific style that you hate, not the fact that it's a mustache.
yeah. This would be like mustache style.
I mean, don't tell me what I hate. I hate whatever's happening over there. All right? Like, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. I don't care about semantics. I care about you taking that thing off your lip. That's the.
Chronicler's going to give you a stiff upper lip about this, and I think we're going to end
I'm
the
gonna.
episode.
Oh my god! Maybe my world's thing needs to be. I'll shave just the
yeah,
mustache.
just the mustache.
Which was
then you're a
basically
perfect
wasn't
pair.
that Freak's look for like his whole career was just
Yeah.
shaving the mustache. I don't
But
know
then,
whether I'll
according to
shave
him,
that.
though, you still have a mustache because.
It will keep growing, sadly.
I'm sorry, Crony.
We doubled down after getting through the whole episode without it. So I'm glad that we got that little tidbit in there. And thanks again for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Valdez will be in the comments. I guarantee it. He'll be in the comments.
It'll
It may not
probably
be
be
actually
Alice.
him, but it might be me, but it's fine. He'll be in the comments down below. Make sure that you leave your opinions as well. Tell us what you thought about the teams going into Worlds. Who do you think is going to be scary? Do you think the LCK is just going to have 4 teams in semis like I do because I am blind to the rest of the world? Or, anything else. Just say hi. That'd be great. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.